Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well, sir. As you know, I leave for Dubai. Well, I fly in the morning. I go to the hotel this evening. My dad shared some bucket list things of his with me, maybe a year or so ago. I don't know what it was, but I just had the compulsion to help him tick off as much of those bucket list things as possible. And one of the things on that list is the Formula One in Abu Dhabi, the Yas Marina. I was watching with him a few years ago, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'd love to go there. Bucket list." And I thought, you know what? One day I'll take you there because he's too tight. He could go on his own. He could even pay for us to go, but he's never going to do it. He's never going to treat himself. So anyway, I thought I'd seize the initiative. So yeah, that'll be fun. Go there tomorrow, and Amelia's brother's coming along because it's his 40th birthday as well. So Amelia wanted asked if he could come, and so it's going to be quite the interesting crew. These are not three people: myself, Amelia's brother, and my dad that usually get together, let alone go away for 7 days together. So we've got a little WhatsApp group saying "lads on tour," and there's some pictures going in it right now. One's just come through, so it's funny. It's
What
Amelia
kind of
said yesterday,
pictures?
this will be one of those weird times that you look back on in years to come, and you just laugh at the weirdness of it. Um, it will be. It'll be interesting. So yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I want to know what kind of pictures you're getting over there. That's what I want to know. Uh,
Well, I can see it going off right now. Those two, James, Amelia's brother James, and my dad, they're texting each other because they're at the hotel now. So they're just arriving.
uh,
So they're just messaging each other to arrange to meet. So so
gotcha.
funny.
And so, for those that don't know, Amelia is your partner.
She
Obviously,
is.
we don't. I think a lot of people probably get surprised because they just don't know that. Tim and I joke about that all the time, because we would just assume. So that's awesome, man. I mean, fulfilling somebody else's dreams and goals, that's got to be a really rewarding thing for you as well.
Yeah. Do you know, we went to the Six Nations rugby early in the year, and he said that was one of his things. We sat there in the seat asking me the rules of the game. So I don't know if it was one of his things or not. But either way, there's a photo that we've got. We're walking through the street towards the stadium, and there's these young girls giving out face paints because Wales were playing France. So we're giving out face paints. I'm like, come on, Dad, sit down. Like just paid to get our face painted and got a selfie of it. And so yeah, super fulfilling. When I flick through my pictures for the year gone by, and that one comes up, it's just that little it lands, that little touch of warmth that you get just from making, to your point, making somebody's day. So yeah, it's great. As you know, I've had a very, I'd say the past few years, really, maybe 5 years, 6 years, when I've really had a relationship with my dad. I'd never really had one, in my opinion, not in the way I wanted to prior to that. So it's cool.
Yeah, well, we get to share some of those stories at the Alpha Resets.
Mm.
It's not the topic I was going to bring to the table today, but I think it's a really good one to talk about because you and I, Tim, can almost get jaded at times. We spend our days helping people, right? Essentially, like the men that come to us, specifically the men that come to us, right? A lot of guys come, they're all business owners. We work with business owners and executives. We do that for a very specific reason, which we've touched on in other podcasts. But a lot of the men come for two reasons, right? Mainly, like, lion's share. One is their marriage isn't working the way that they want to, right? For some guys, it's just good, and just good isn't good enough. For other guys, are on the brink of divorce, and we help them bring it back to the way that they want it to be. And we're very good at that. We have a program called the Activation Method, which is a methodology that works. It just works. They work with a coach. And the other thing the guys come to us with is when they're just stuck, right? They're stuck, and not sure what else to do in life. And, they're at the top of the tree, as you always say, but they're at the top of the food chain in their industry or their business. And they're not looking just for business coaching, which is what we started doing originally. And we just realized, hey, all of these guys have some of the same issues here outside of the business too. And we got to solve those before we get into the business. Um, but they're unstuck. They're unclear on what to do next. And they're looking for, a trusted advisor. And what we do is we hold up a mirror. We hold up a mirror to them so they can find their own answers for themselves. Now, I know some people are going, well, geez, that doesn't sound like coaching or what have you, but it really is. That's what coaching is, is really holding up a mirror, asking the right questions and letting people figure it out for themselves. You just guide them on that journey. And the reason I bring all that up is you and I get to see people, fulfill their dreams. It's extremely common that a man graduates the activation method and all of a sudden they start doing things that they've always wanted to do. Right? Their
Mm.
marriage is, a 10 out of 10 as an example. And so now they're like, "Hey, I want to travel or I want to do an Ironman or I want to go to this concert." Whatever it is, my favorite band, I haven't seen them in 10 years. And guys will start doing these types of things and you and I get to be a part of them. And so it's really cool to see you doing that with your father as well and potentially your future brother-in-law. We'll call him your brother-in-law right now. And you're living that now. And I think a lot of us and probably the men listening to this, guys, if you're listening to this, let me know if you, like me, have this experience. Is a lot of us are waiting for the right time. We're waiting for the economy to be good. We're waiting for time in our schedule. Oh, when marketing gets fixed, then I'll be able to take time off to go vacation with my family. When sales gets up, then I'll be able to do these things. Or, you know what? In my 40s, when I'm in my 50s, I can retire, take my foot off the gas, et cetera, et cetera. I know for one, Tim, I've told this story countless times to myself. We don't lie to anybody more than ourselves, and I'm certainly not perfect. So it's really cool to see you doing this with your family. And I'm curious how many of you guys listening to this right now are resonating with Tim's story the way I am. Now, I'm not resonating with your story in a positive way in the sense that I do what you do, Tim. I'm resonating with more of like, shit, I should be, right? Not should, but I get to do more of those things with the people that I love rather than waiting for the right time.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to give a big thanks to the men in the movement because to your point, when we see them living their life, doing these things that they've always wanted to do, go to
Yeah.
concerts, go on trips, learn to fly, do a bodybuilding competition.
So many guys have
Um,
learned to fly recently in the Powerful Man movement. Isn't
yeah,
it crazy how many guys have
yeah,
taken up flying?
and you know what? To build tree houses for the kids, all sorts of things they've always wanted to do, right? And
Yeah, it's
to your
awesome.
point, yeah, it's inspiring. It literally is inspiring. It inspires me, and it's a virtuous cycle because then they see you and I do things, and that then inspires them. And it's I'm very very grateful for the men in the movement. And to your point, I think a key distinction for them, they're not waiting for the marriage to be a 10 out of 10. For a lot of guys, they come out of the activation method, and the marriage is up there, but the key thing for them is they're breaking the code. They've broken the codependency of either waiting for their wife to approve before they do something for themselves, or waiting for the relationship to be fixed, or waiting for the business to be a certain way. It's all have, do, be, right? When I have the business a certain way, that's when I'll take time off, and that's when I'll then be happy, or whatever it may be. It's outside in. That's what the guys learn through the activation method. In the process, they go to the inside out, which is be, do, have. We talk about managing your energy versus your time and getting your alpha rise and shine in place, getting your routines and your rhythms set up in your life so that your cup is overflowing and it's spilling. The overflow is spilling into the people around you. And that's when people get the best of you instead of the rest of you. And part of that is doing these things that are so easy not to do.
Yeah.
So easy to just not take my dad to the Formula One. So easy to go next year or the year after or the year after. So many reasons why it shouldn't be done because, naturally, I'm just like anybody else. I was speaking to you either last night or this morning, and I'm like, oh, this trip is not coming at a good time. There's things we're doing in TPM, getting certain things into momentum that requires some consistency. In an ideal world, I just keep doing those things and so on. And it happens every time, whether it's a trip with Amelia, a trip on my own, a trip with family. The point is, it always seems to be there. It always seems to be that way. So if I'm then, if I have an expectation on myself that I'm only going to then take the trip when the conditions are just right, everything's just so settled and stable, and there's space and it's comfortable, I'll never go.
Yeah.
I'll never go. I'll never, to the guy's points, I'll never learn to fly. I'll never do the bodybuilding competition. I'll never uh, take that trip, that hike through South America. Or I'll never, whatever it may be, right? Waiting for someday, and we've spoken about this before, versus seizing the day.
It's a very good point, right? When you look at it, um, so easy for me as a serial entrepreneur. I know for myself at least to get into that mindset of, okay, once I crush this part of the business and get the system set up, and I was working on building out one of our programs we call the Brotherhood. Just was building it out to make it bigger, better, what have you. And I remember myself sitting there and going, okay, once I get this done, then I can take my foot off the gas, and then I'm going to do something different, right? This is what I was planning on doing, is I was going to take the winter kind of off and just really ski, snowboard, and just enjoy the winter with
Mm.
the family. And then, of course, something else came up, as you know, Tim, which drug me down a rabbit hole to go through. And at the time, you just don't see it. I gave up my morning routines. I'm coaching people to do it, but I gave up my morning routines and other things. And a lot of times, as men, we put ourselves last, and it's easy to fall back into that trap. A lot of our guys can do it as soon as. It's one of the most common things we see, which makes me feel even stupider when I do it, is when men leave, one of our programs, they'll often come back, not of need or necessity, but they'll come back because they're looking to continuously grow. And the ones that have kind of backslid, so to speak, is because they've stopped doing the basics. They've stopped the morning routine,
Mm.
the decompression, as you were saying. And there's part of it is just being in the conversation. Like you and I are in the conversation right now. You listening to this, you're in the conversation of betterment, which allows you to be better. So what I guess I
Mm.
ask myself in this conversation is, where am I holding back? Right? What do I get to do um, to be able to do a trip like you're doing to Dubai, right? And it's not at a place of jealousy or trying to compete with you, Tim. It's just more of the, okay, great. How can I do the things that I'm doing in the business, do the things I'm doing in coaching, which I love, and also, am I waiting somewhere to do something, right? Is that an issue?
It's a great question to ask as well, because in my opinion, you definitely do your best work. You're definitely the happiest when you have space away from your laptop. Um, your best ideas come from that place. Your best mood comes from that place. Your best delegation, your highest levels of productivity. I mean, what's one of the memories you often talk about? You often talk about that drive you took to Alaska, right?
What a drive
It's
that
something
was.
that yeah, it sounds incredible. But the point is, right? You did that thing for yourself, and look how often you talk of that and how fond it is, right? It sits very dearly in your heart. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, your life isn't to serve the business is there to serve your life. Now, obviously, we have a movement. It's a little bit different to us in a lot of respects, because we just love what we do, and it's not so much what we do, it's who we are. And that's the struggle for you and I, right? Because it's who we are. It's not that we are entrepreneurs per se, but the type of work that we do with the men, the way in which we get to coach them, the field of play that we get to play on TPM and what we do, man, I I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I wouldn't want to be in any other quote unquote business. At the same time, we get to figure out how to balance that. I say figure out, this gets to be in the conversation and remind ourselves because something that you and I do, Doug, is we're very big on creating the culture within TPM where everybody wins. We
Yep.
talk about so often, right? The team win, so they get to live their fuck yes life, as well as part of that is making a big impact in the movement. The men get to win, so they get fantastic service and results. The movement gets to win, so it has health and the ability to continue to grow and help more people. And then also the world wins. There's more amazing people out there in the world. And to your point, I think it can be easy for you and I to put ourselves on the back burner in that scenario and take care of everybody and create a scenario where we're very much inspiring the team to make sure they're happy and they're inspired and they're doing that for themselves because they mean so much to us and so do the men. And we know that when they're doing that, the men also get the best possible service and the men then get the results. And that's a big part of why we do what we do. And it's very important that I think you and I continue to be in the conversation and do our best to insert those pockets of time. I think the great thing about it's one of the benefits of a partnership, right? In theory, one of you is able to take time away and the other one can step in. And I think we could potentially leverage that more frequently.
All right. Well, there we go, guys. I will be taking the month of. No, it is so true. Obviously, we joke around about it a lot, Tim. I was just talking to my wife last night. We were going to go with another family away this past weekend, and it didn't work out right. I got really sick, and turns out the other family ended up getting sick too. So we didn't do it. So last night, I turned to my wife and I was like, "Hey, let's plan another weekend away." Right. And let's go ahead. And there's a place up here, is a lake. When it snows a lot, the roads close down, right? Because we're in the mountains where I live. I'm just in Oregon, just outside of Bend, Oregon, for people that know the area. And there's a lodge that's up there, and you have to take a snowcat, right? It's basically, think of a SUV with tank tires, right? Tank tracks or whatever, and you take that to the lodge. And so I was like, let's book that. Let's do that thing to go up there, and we'll get
Wow.
snowmobiles or sleds or whatever, and we'll take the kids and we'll go through it. And it's easy for us, for all of us, not just myself, but to get stuck in this someday mentality. And so, what I'm going to encourage
Mm,
myself to do publicly, but also you guys listening, is to take those some days and do them today, right? Just like Tim is doing with his father, and I'm going to call him your brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law. He's taking the some days and future casting it to today, right? Bringing it forward, condensing time. And whether it be in your marriage, guys, like if your marriage isn't working, stop waiting for someday for it to be better and take action today. Whether it's your business, but really it's the areas that we see for men that are successful. It's two areas. It's self, right? Where in your self care, right? We do 5 territories of the powerful man. If you're not aware, it's self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. The 2 areas you want to double down on, guys, are yourself and your relationships. Those are the areas. So where are your some days in self and relationships? And I'm going to challenge you guys within this next week to take one massive action step towards those goals. And I'll put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. I will do the same thing, and I'll share it with you guys in a future podcast. And I want to hear, though, where you guys are doing, because it inspires me. It inspires me to do more, be more when I see all the great stuff that you guys are up to. And frankly, sometimes I just want some ideas. I want some great ideas of what's going on. I'm not going to get my pilot's license today, but for the rest of you guys that are out there, I love seeing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And, sometimes I want to get involved. So maybe I'll jump on with you.
I love it. Yeah, one final thing to add. Just be mindful when you're caught in a trap of sprinting towards a finish line that doesn't exist. I think in business, it's so easy, to your point, Doug, to sprint. Okay, when I get to this point, though, that's when I'll do X.
Yep.
But the journey is the destination. The finish line, there isn't one. And not, I don't think you want there to be one either, right? It's the nature of the beast. It's who you are. It's who
Yes.
we are. We're competitive. We love to grow. We love to improve. It's always going to be the case. It's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. right? Slow and steady wins a race. It's much better to be consistent over a long period of time than be sprinting towards a finish line that doesn't exist and forever be getting burnt out and ill and so on, because that just, again, it's not where anyone's best work comes from. And more importantly, it's not where people can live their best life from either. Um, for me, I'd much rather have a slower paced journey and enjoy the ride and take it all in than sprint so fast that the wheels fall off to arrive at a finish line a little bit faster, or sooner rather, but to just be beaten, battered, bruised, burnt out, unable to even stand on the finish line. I'd rather come in maybe third place with a smile on my face, having competed with myself and pushed myself in training and got better for myself and been in competition with myself and improved. By no means am I saying to settle. By no means am I saying any of those things. I'm just reminding all of us, myself included, the journey is the destination. If I fall into the trap of sprinting towards a finish line that doesn't exist, I'm forever going to be sprinting. And that isn't sustainable, nor is it the happiest place and the most optimal place to come from.
So very true. So, gentlemen, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. And guys, I want to know what you're doing. And like I said, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I will post and share some of the things that I've committed to doing by the end of next week. So the next couple podcasts from now, you guys will hear it whether you want to or not. So guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, WOLF is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here, so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.